Welcome back to Commute Chats. This is Maggie McCowan, and I'm so excited to have you back for episode 2 of season 2. It's crazy that I'm in my second season of doing the podcast, and I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone listening and to everyone who listened to the first episode. Thank you for being so supportive. It was my first time on YouTube. And that was quite the learning experience. It took me a lot longer to release episode 1 because of the video editing process. But now, as you can see, we're in the studio, aka my office, aka the podcast studio. So this is where we'll be recording from now on. So all my guests will hopefully, if they're not virtual, will be in this space. And it's going to be a lot easier to edit. And it's really cute. And I'm really excited about it. So super thankful for all of you who listened to episode 1. Just a reminder, if you're listening to this podcast for the first time ever, thank you for listening. This podcast is meant to empower women in college and in their early careers, and even women later in their careers during their commute. And that's how I named it Commute Chats. So last season, it was every month I had a woman from a different profession on that talked about her career and her life to share with you what a day in her life might look like if you're either trying to decide what you want to do or you just want to hear from other women and what they struggle with and what they're not struggling with. So that was season 1, and season 2 is similar. We launched the first episode a couple weeks ago or last week, and that was with Shelby. And so now I have my second guest for season 2, which is Kelsey.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Kelsey is my first guest in the studio, so I'm really excited about that. And we'll get into later how we met and all of that jazz. But yeah, Kelsey's here for the weekend. Maybe we should talk about what we're doing this weekend or what you've been doing, because you've been quite busy. You got here Thursday. What have you done since?
Yes. Got here early Thursday morning. We came back here, both worked from home, and then woke up Friday and drove over to Birmingham to meet my sister, who goes to the University of Alabama. She drove over to Birmingham from Tuscaloosa, and we went to the Zach Bryan concert last night, and it was so much fun. He put on such a great show, very entertaining. He has the center stage set up, and so he can go around to all 4 sides of the stage, which was really cool because I feel like you get to see him from like all different angles, and like he gets a lot of crowd time with each side.
Yeah.
So it was a really great show. But I did drive back from Birmingham last night after the concert, so I was very tired this morning.
Yes.
But glad that we're filming the podcast.
I know. And we're back, and we had a really relaxing morning this morning. Kelsey obviously slept in because she got back super late. And that's really, we haven't really done much. We cooked a nice little breakfast. We're recording the podcast, and we'll tell you at the end of the podcast what exciting thing we're doing after this. Yes. So stay tuned for that. So that's just what we're doing. Before we get started, we wanted to talk about just a little fun sports moment, because everybody knows we're not just here to talk about business. We wanted to talk about March Madness, because was last night the first round of games?
Yeah, last night concluded the first round.
Right.
So it started on Thursday.
Last night was a big night. The first night was a big night because Kentucky got upset. And a lot of people had Kentucky to win the whole thing. So
there have been a lot of upsets.
Your bracket is busted. And then last night, Auburn got upset by Yale. Hail Yale. And that stinks for them, but you know what? That's just how
the cookie crumbles.
And Alabama won by actually a lot. We actually really slayed and beat the University of Charleston, and we're playing Grand Canyon.
I don't know.
That doesn't even sound right, but it we play tonight, tomorrow. I don't really know.
I think it's tomorrow.
So we'll see. Who did you pick to win? Okay, I know you made multiple brackets.
I have several brackets.
Like your best bracket.
Who did you pick? My best bracket is not my realistic, or my best bracket is the realistic bracket, I guess.
Not what you want to happen.
Not what I want to happen. So my friends and I, we have a group for all of our brackets, and for that one I did choose Alabama to win. It's a little optimistic, but you know, I got to pull for my team. And then in my realistic one, I think I have Kansas actually winning, maybe.
Okay.
And then I do an all SEC bracket where I only picked the
Super
SEC
busted,
teams
probably.
Yeah, very busted. So
Okay. I only did one bracket this year because I did it kind of last minute, but I did pick Alabama to win.
yeah, you have to.
You have to.
You have to be
A lot
faithful.
of people in my groups though picked UConn,
Mhm.
like almost everyone. So I'm kind of hoping they lose so that I can win.
Yeah.
The group. So yeah, that's March Madness. If you're not into that, well, it's everywhere. So like, don't go out to eat because it'll be on every screen and everything. And it'll be on till the end of March. So that's our little bracket moment. But let's get into it. Let's talk about how we met so that everybody understands like how we even came to this point today.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell from your perspective, like how we met?
It's kind of, sometimes whenever I think about it, it's a little convoluted because we have a lot of mutual friends from high school. Like one of your best friends, Bailey, like we went to Girls State together. And then, just had a lot of overlapping friends. And then I think we initially met doing student recruitment team.
Yes.
And
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And like we would talk a little bit during student recruitment. And then I came up to you after the end of one of our chemistry classes in organic.
Yeah.
And because I needed help. I was not doing so hot. And I was just like, do you want to study together sometime? And then
and we did.
It just,
And then we became best friends.
I know. Yeah.
It was really that simple though. Like it was organic chemistry. Like we definitely knew each other before. And just for reference, Kelsey was an Alpha Chi Omega at Alabama. I was an Alpha Gamma Delta. So we were in separate sororities, but we had like, I had mutual friends with some of your friends. Like Jen Reeves was in my pledge class.
Yeah.
And so we had these mutual friends and we just didn't fully connect until the organic chemistry. And then we took
because we had
chemistry.
Organic at the same time as student recruitment team, I think.
And this is organic too, or was it one?
It was one.
But we took.
We
took Blackstock for two.
For two, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Shaughnessy for organic one.
Yes, yes. So, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I forget my professor's names already. It seems too early for that. So yeah, we met organic chemistry. Kelsey's major was chemistry, and my major was chemical engineering. So there were definitely like a few classes that we obviously had in common. Just trying to think of like what else we did in common. That was really it. After organic, did we take any classes together?
We had organic 1 and organic 2. And we had organic lab together, I think.
So basically sophomore year.
Yeah.
Okay. But even after that, I feel like we studied together.
Oh, we did.
Like we would just rent these study rooms for literally.
We would like block them out the entire day.
Yeah, and it would give you a limit. Like you could only block a room for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And so we would do like 3 hours, and then when we get like Chase Russell, one of our other friends, that studied a lot, to do 3 hours, and so then we would just have this like group study room.
Yes.
All day. Not every day, but finals week every day.
Finals week, yeah, it was every day.
And our favorite library, if you went to Alabama, our favorite library was Bruno.
It was, even though it's the business library, and
we always felt just like no one, like business students do study because we were MBA students and we studied.
That's another thing how we knew each other from STEM.
Oh yeah, and let's rewind. So we also did a program, which I may have talked about on the podcast, but it's called STEM Path to the MBA. It's at the University of Alabama, and it's an accelerated MBA program if you're in like a STEM major.
Field. Yeah.
And so we both were on STEM Path. We had different teachers, but like we would have like mutual things that happened. And then we got our MBA together and we lived together our MBA year. So that's like how it progressed. But our favorite library was Bruno, mainly because it was never full. Yeah. And Rogers was the engineering library, and I just didn't feel smart when I went in there.
Bruno also had a lot more study rooms.
A lot more study rooms, a lot more convenient part of campus. Like it was closer to your sorority house, easier to drive to, more parking. Yeah. All the things. So I can't believe that was like.
And it's recent. It's been renovated since we graduated. So it's probably even nicer now.
We should also talk about like what happened. So we got our MBA during COVID year. Mm-hmm. So we had finished our first semester into our second semester. Yeah. And COVID hit. And like one of my core memories from college is sitting on the patio behind, what was the building? The main business building? Off the quad? in between, and Bruno's behind it. Like, I don't even remember. Okay, forget we said that. But where Manderson is, like where the graduate school is, like, oh, we're gonna have to cut this. This is so embarrassing. Anyways, where that is, there's like this patio behind it, like before you get to the library, and like we were all sitting out there, like they called, let us go to spring break early.
Yeah,
they were like, we'll just let out for spring break early. You'll come back, and we're like, oh, we'll be back. Like, sweet, we get an extra few days of spring break, and then we never came back.
So sad.
So that was really sad.
And it was like a lot of the students, well, you start your kind of crash courses for MBA your freshman year. And so a lot of the students that we were with in the MBA program, we had known them since freshman year.
Right.
So it's just kind of weird. Like, I haven't seen a lot of people since.
Yeah. A lot of people struggle to get jobs.
Yeah.
Luckily, neither one of us like dealt with that, but a lot of people's job offers got taken back.
Yeah.
Or they were really struggling to get a job. So that was really not.
It was a tough time to be graduating. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it was a tough time to be in college, but especially to be graduating because the job market was just so in flux.
Yeah.
So speaking of jobs, let's just get into what you do for a living.
All right. Well, I work in government consulting. I live in Washington, D.C. So there are lots of different opportunities to be involved with government besides, I guess, like working on the Hill, like the typical government job that you kind of think of, or like working directly for agencies and things like that. So, I work in government consulting, and essentially what I do is just help my clients solve what problems they have going on in the workplace. And that can kind of be anything and everything.
Right.
I'm more on the strategy side. And the program that I'm working with is a science-related program. It's science and research related program. So I feel like that's kind of where I pull my chemistry from.
Yeah.
And then the business side of it with the MBA. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Yeah. So Kelsey, like she said, has her bachelor's in chemistry and her MBA. So she's a smart girly. I feel like your job is so cool because we both have experience in government work, and that is also like a thing that we did together.
Well, you told me about the internship that I should apply for it. And then we were both in it at the same time. Yeah,
so we both did a government internship, and Kelsey started the summer after I started, but I stayed on for a second summer. And we didn't live together. I would stay with you some in Huntsville.
Yeah.
And so we did that together too. But is that what kind of like led you to government consulting? Like, did you realize you didn't want to work for a government agency and you wanted to go the contracting route?
Yeah.
Like, how did you get to that decision?
I had considered taking a government role, and then my company had reached out to me, or the company that I work for now had reached out to me on LinkedIn and was asked if I was interested in a job, and it seemed very appealing to me, and it was essentially going to be very similar to what I would be doing on the government side, except for a different company. And it just kind of worked out the way that the timing lined up, that it made more sense to go the company route.
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed working for the company I'm with now, and there's a lot of flexibility with projects and moving around and things like that. So I think that's what appealed to me most, is that I could work on a project for a year or two and then move on and do something else. Whereas I feel like sometimes, depending on your role on the government side of things, you kind of find, I guess, like what you really enjoy, and then you stay in that type of career for long term or longer term before you move on to something else.
Right.
So I liked that there was a little bit more flexibility in choosing what I could work on.
Right. That way you're not stuck in the same thing all the time. And you can also have multiple clients.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I'm working with 2 different clients right now, which I really enjoy, just because it gives me a little bit more insight into different agencies and things like that. Yeah. And I feel like I'm like growing my knowledge and
that and your network too.
Yeah,
and that's network. Really cool. Yep. Part of consulting. So you said you live in DC. Mm-hmm. Tell us about what led you to DC. Was it this job specifically? Were you thinking about moving to DC before this job, or like were you actively pursuing that, or did it just kind of fall in your lap?
Yeah. So I had interned on the Hill, on Capitol Hill, in 2017 for senator, and just really, really fell in love with the city and how it is a city, but at the same time, it doesn't really feel that way. And a lot of people move to DC from all around the country to work for different congressmen and women in different companies, and they stay there for several years or like 1 or 2 years, and then they like move somewhere else. But I liked that it's people from all across the country. And with that, there are actually a lot of people from the SEC that move up there. So like while it is, you know, more northern, I guess, but there are parts of it that kind of still feel like the South Southern. Because you're surrounded by people that are from the South. So I really liked being up there for that summer and knew that I wanted to move back. I just wanted a little bit of change of pace from being in Alabama. And so I only applied to jobs in DC. And I guess if that wasn't going to work out, then I would have, applied to other things in different parts of the country. But I just wanted to move to DC. So.
Yeah, that's so fun. And it worked out. And I love DC too. It's just a great place. And also like maybe touch on how you've like stayed involved with people from Alabama. Like, are you involved in any groups or organizations that kind of keep you plugged in with like the Alabama
crew
and the crew?
Yes. So there are 2 organizations that I am involved with in DC, one being the University of Alabama Alumni Association, and then the Alabama State Society. So with the Alabama Alumni Association, that's obviously Alabama alums that are living in DC or interning in DC. We have different events throughout the year. We actually just had one that the College of Arts and Sciences put on, and they had students up there for spring break to just talk to different companies and interview for internships and things like that. So we met with some of the students just to talk to them about living in DC and things like that. And then we do game day watch parties, and it's just really fun to see people that you may have been friends with in undergrad, but like haven't seen them in a while, and then they move up to DC and like you get reconnected with them. And then the Alabama State Society is really for anyone that has any type of connection to the state. You can not be from Alabama, but if you have friends that are from Alabama, or you're not from Alabama, but you went to a school in Alabama, or you work for somebody that is an Alabama representative, and it's just like kind of a networking social thing to do.
So cool.
We have different happy hours and things like that. And you just get to hang out with people from or that have connections to Alabama. And usually we do crossover events with other state societies. So we've done some with the Florida State Society, Mississippi State Society. We have one coming up with the South Carolina State Society.
That's so cool.
So it's just a great way to meet people, especially when DC can kind of feel a little bit lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Okay, so you talked about networking. If you could give, if any college students are listening, like advice about networking, because I feel like you've done a lot of networking yourself, and you've like networked with college students and allowed for them to like learn more about your company. Like, what would be your advice to like a college student who's looking to network? Like, how do you start, and what does that look like?
I would say definitely take advantage of if someone offers to say, hey, reach out to me and set up an email, or send me an email and like we'll set up a call. Definitely take advantage of that, because they're offering their time, and if they're doing that, it's sincere. It's not like, just don't worry about it. And I felt like I was really nervous to do that kind of thing whenever I was in undergrad and in grad school, because I didn't want to waste anyone's time, or I didn't feel like I was bothering them. But that's what alums and alumni networks are there for. And it does kind of feel like, I don't know this person, and I want them to help me, but they want to help students, and you're not like bothering people. So definitely take advantage if someone offers to set up a call or coffee or something like that, to go and meet up with that person, and learn what you can.
I was gonna say the same thing. Like, don't be afraid to put like your foot forward and be like, I need help here, or I want to learn more about your company,
Mm-hmm.
because I know there have been several people who've reached out to me, and same probably for you, about
Yeah.
what's Ford like, or what's your company like. And it's nice to be able to like give back to
Yeah.
people, like, because we were there like literally not that long
Yeah.
ago. So,
And sometimes people aren't even really interested in what I'm working on, but I may know someone that's
right.
in a field that they would be interested in. Or I've just talked to people sometimes about like, what's it like to move to DC? How do you find an apartment? Like that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So you
Yeah.
know, it can really be anything.
And if you're on the job market, like whether you're in college or young professional or later in your career, I just feel like, most of the time you're not going to just submit your resume and get a job. It's going
Yeah.
to be like submitting your resume, networking with someone there, that person passing your name along, or knowing someone, like you said, like
Yeah.
a mutual friend that, works at the company that you're
Mhm.
interested in, or in the field that you're interested in. So, yeah, that's such a good point, because I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like with my job out of college, like that's how I got my job. Like,
Mhm.
of course, it was based on my merit and all of those things, but
Yeah.
without that extra step of networking, I wouldn't have had the opportunity I had.
Yeah.
So it's really important. So let's get to the fun part about DC. It seems like you talked about, you're in all these like Alabama alumni, state society, all these things. It's
Mhm.
very like social.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite part about the social life in DC?
I love that whenever you want to do something, you can always find someone to go and
To go
do
do
it with you. Yeah, like I feel like my group of friends like were really great about that. Like sometimes we get the whole group together and we all go and do something. Sometimes it's just one or two of us, but most of the time someone is free and like down to go anywhere,
Yeah.
do anything, which I love. And then it's also kind of like I do have like my closer friends, but then I also have other people that I meet up with, like once a quarter. I feel like we just like
Right.
catch up and like we pick up right where we left off. So you have like your close group, but then you have other friends that are outside of that. And it's not like, oh, I can't be friends with anyone else because
Right.
I have these other friends. Like there's always something going on, something to do, people to hang out with.
Yeah. So fun.
And especially with summer coming up, like baseball is about to start again, which the games are so much fun to go to. Hockey season is kind of wrapping up, but the hockey games are really fun. I haven't been to a Commanders game yet.
Okay.
So I'd like to go.
That's on your list.
This fall.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, of course, the museums, it's fun when people that haven't been to DC in a while come to town. And like I'll go and play tourist for a day.
Yeah, we did that
or whatever.
all summer last year. Literally, I think we went to every Smithsonian there.
Last calendar year, I think I went to Mount Vernon 4 times, which I like. Like I could give a tour of Mount Vernon.
Right, you can work there at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody wants to do things. Everybody wants to go out, have fun.
Yeah.
How did you make friends in DC? Because you moved, and I know you you have a roommate.
Mm.
How did you get through finding a roommate and making new friends in a place you've never lived before?
So the roommate situation is like so crazy.
Yeah.
So I, knew I wanted to move to DC, and then I got my job, and then I was just like trying to figure out where I was going to live, because I didn't really know the city that well, and also didn't really know anyone else that was moving up. So I was on a roommate Facebook Finder group for DC, and my now roommate Ashley had posted in there that she was looking for someone, and so I immediately DM'd her whenever I saw her post, because I saw that she went to Auburn. She was just a year younger than me, and she's also from Decatur, which is just like 45 minutes from my hometown. And we had a lot of mutual friends on Facebook. And we just hit it off. We FaceTimed twice and then signed a 15-month lease. And so it was just kind of like, all right,
here we go.
Full send.
Yeah.
And I actually had ended up meeting her parents before I met her, because
I remember that.
we just shared a U-Haul on the way up since we lived so close together. And our parents have become really good friends.
That's so cool.
And yeah, Ashley and I have been roommates and besties since we moved in June of 2020.
Right.
First week of June.
That's crazy.
So almost 4 years now. And since we moved up literally in the middle of COVID, one of Ashley's friends that she knew from Girl State, Parker, had just moved up as well. So it was me, Ashley, and Parker pretty much that entire summer, like just playing cards and like going on walks and stuff because we couldn't do anything else. And then it was like, oh, we heard of 2 other girls that are moving up that went to Auburn, and like, oh, they know someone else that went to Vandy, and it's just
again, like everyone's circles.
Yes,
just
and that's kind of like how our group came together. Yeah,
that's so fun. I love that. Okay, so we talked about your social life. We talked about making friends. With like all the benefits and like fun things in DC, mm-hmm. you're also far away from your family. So like, how do you balance like getting back? Like for people who are interested in like, oh, I want to move off, and we did the same thing. Mm-hmm. You know, we moved off. But how did you balance and how do you balance seeing your family?
Yeah, it can be very difficult. But the first year that I had moved up to DC, my family came up and helped me move in, and then I think I came home that year 5 or 6 times for weddings.
Right.
So I was home a lot for that. And then I tried to stay whenever I was coming home for Thanksgiving and Christmas as long as possible to stretch those out, given like I was having to take PTO and I was a new employee, so I didn't have a ton of PTO either. So I just tried to stretch those trips out.
Yeah.
And even the second year I was coming home for a lot of weddings and stuff. So I feel like that really helped whenever I was coming home for those types of things.
Right.
And then I got a dog last year. Lily, she's a golden retriever, and she just turned 1 a couple of weeks ago.
We'll put a picture of her in the video.
Yeah. She's a sweetie. But so she's too big to fly. And so for Thanksgiving and Christmas, I drove down with her. So I got to stay a little bit longer since I could decide when I wanted to leave.
Yeah.
Which was really nice. So whenever I am home, I really try to, spend as much time with my family that I can, because it is a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
And then also like try to visit with friends and stuff that I haven't seen in a long time. So
yeah. That's good. Okay, and then the last thing about DC, I think, list your top 3 favorite restaurants in actual DC. So not Alexandria,
DC proper.
Yeah, DC proper, not.
Okay, I'll try to spread it out as far as types of food.
Okay,
and then I guess pricing and stuff wise. So my friends and I really like to go to this Greek Mediterranean restaurant that's right beneath one of our friends' apartments. And now I'm totally blanking on the name.
Does it start with an M?
No.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
That's okay. We'll put it in the caption.
Yeah. But it's a great happy hour spot. They have really good Aperol spritzes.
Right. Which is
very, very
kind of rare for a Mediterranean. Not super rare, but you normally don't find a great place that also serves a spritz or a cocktail.
Yeah. Really, really good. I cannot believe I'm blanking on the name right now. And then it definitely is a tourist trap, but the food is so good. Les Diplomats. It's on 14th Street. And you have to have a reservation, but it is really, really, really good. But if you're not, if you don't want to go there, they have a sister restaurant, Pastis, which they also have a location in New York.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. And this one, Pastis, is in Union Market. That's where I went for my birthday this year. So they have, since it's a sister restaurant, they have a lot of the same things on the menu. And I don't know, the vibe is just really great. The Les Diplomats and Pastis are both French restaurants, or French American restaurants, and very, very good.
We love a French restaurant. And Union Market, is that where we went that time that has all the different restaurants within it?
Yes, but the whole area is Union Market. We did go to I guess the Union Market food hall. I don't really know what they call that one big space. But
there's restaurants
restaurants around it, and you just call that whole area Union Market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every time I think of Union Market, I think of my DC horror story.
I know.
Should I tell it?
Yeah.
It's really gross.
But not all of DC is like this.
Yeah,
but there are
DC is amazing, and as an outsider, I love DC.
Yeah.
I was a little bit sick of it this summer
Yeah.
because my husband was there for a little bit, but I did get to see you a lot, and
Yeah.
we did get to hang out a lot. So, also my cat's trying to get in. I had to mention that because she's just sitting outside.
She
So
wants to be on the pod.
you hear some scratching or meows. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so me and Riley were there. This is like, I don't even know, maybe a couple years ago.
I think it was
I don't even know why we were there. Something he was doing for
yeah,
work.
Yeah.
And we were like really hungry, and we were like, oh, let's just metro in to meet Kelsey in DC. So we take the metro all the time. So do you. And it's fine. It's public transportation. What do you expect? It's not anything fancy, but it's fine. And I think we were staying in Alexandria or Arlington.
Yeah, I think y'all were in Alexandria.
Yeah. So we get to like the exit, like the stop, like the DCA airport stop. And this guy gets on, sits in front of us, looks like a construction worker, looks like he's had a long day, whatever. And we go a couple more stops, and like I like smelled like the most foul smell I've ever smelled in my life. And I'm like, what could that be? I don't know. Like, I'm not going to describe the smell, but it was really bad. And next thing I know, I look at my feet, and there is like vomit on my feet. And if you know me, I have whatever phobia it is. I don't look up the name because I don't look up like the word throw up. But there is a phobia out there for like throwing up. I understand no one likes to do it, but like I actually do have a phobia. I'm absolutely terrified of it. Not necessarily doing it, just like other people's. Like that is my like, I don't even know, like the worst thing that could ever happen in my life. So I like start panicking. Riley's like, oh my God, like we gotta get her out of this.
Gotta get out of here.
So luckily, like we were one stop away, and me and Riley literally went and like took like sink showers in the Union Market bathrooms. And then we got back and we washed all our clothes.
Yeah.
And it was fine. Like, I just feel like it ruined the burger I had that night at Union Market.
Yeah.
Because it was good.
I
and
will
it was
say,
just the vibe was off because I was just so, like, triggered by that.
There's a disclaimer.
Not
like,
only
there are
ever.
some random odd things that happen in DC, and you just have to,
It's not like New York, though.
No.
Nothing like that. Like,
no.
I've never had an incident on the metro, and that was, like, the first time I ever did. And I've taken the metro a lot for someone who visits DC.
Yeah.
So, do you have any horror stories you'd like to share?
I was trying to think of one as you were telling your story, and nothing comes to mind right now.
That's good. Hopefully that's because you don't have something that was traumatizing.
Yeah.
No, I feel like DC is like very safe in terms of like the areas I go to. Like obviously there's areas to avoid, but I always feel like fine there. And I mean, that was my only incident. So, like, if you're wanting to move to DC, like, don't let that stop you because Kelsey just said 5 million great things about it. But yeah, going back to like, we've visited a lot. We've eaten a lot of food in DC with
La Plaza is another good.
Where's that?
That's the Mexican restaurant.
Like by Capitol Hill?
Yes. Okay. It's kind of like a hole in the wall Mexican restaurant.
They have cactus glasses. And if you know, you know.
That's when you know.
That's when you know. So good.
Yeah.
And yeah, the first time we went there, I was like, oh, okay, like this is literally a hole in the wall, but it was so good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of where else we've been. Oh, we've been to a lot of places in Alexandria, like Old Town.
Yes.
So that's kind of where me and Riley hung out this past summer a lot because it was just a little bit more convenient for us. And so we would go to Mia's. What was the French restaurant? Josephine.
I want to go back there.
That was really good. Me and you went there. Lots of cute places on the water. Lots of like happy hour moments. Landini Brothers. That's where we went one time.
That's where we went for
graduation.
Yeah.
So yeah, so much good food in DC. Yeah. Like I really do feel like
I'm trying to like
the food capital.
It's a lot more helpful for me if I like look at a map and I can look at a certain area and then I'm like, oh, these are really good. You should go here.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing.
If you're in a rush and you're going out, where are you going to go?
Oh, like what kind of rush?
Like if you're like, I just need to pick up something and go. Greek?
Yeah, probably the Greek place or I mean, Stellina Pizzeria is also really, really good. It's like on your way to Union Market. I'm trying to think of what else. There are like there's this place called Junction that's close to the hill. That's good.
I'm writing all these down for the foodies.
I
know I have some foodies.
I'll give more recommendations that whenever I can look at the actual names places.
Perfect.
But
okay, so anything else about DC? Like, would you tell someone to move there?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I feel like there's so much opportunity there, like even if you're not in politics or even if you're not in government, like every major company still has a headquarters in Virginia or DC. So much opportunity there. I love it. Actually, I'm coming back in April, so that's our next time we're going to see each other. We literally only have to go like 3 weeks, and we're going to go out to eat one night, and I'll actually be in Virginia, but we're going to see each other. So, like, there is a difference.
There is a
Should
difference.
We clarify? Like,
yes.
There's DC and there's Virginia.
Yes.
Like, Kelsey lives in DC. You need to understand that. She lives in...
And for those that don't remember their civics classes.
You're right.
DC is the District of Columbia. It's the nation's capital. It is a city. It's not a state. And it's in between Virginia and Maryland.
Right. For those of you who don't remember.
That don't remember. Because I did have someone ask me, what is the difference between Virginia and DC? So
there is a difference. And how many
it's
square miles is DC?
3 square miles.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
There's so many people that live right there and so many things that happen in that space. Like, but you were saying like DC doesn't feel like a city, and to me it doesn't either because everything is there's no skyscrapers.
There's no skyscrapers. All the buildings have to be they can't be any higher than the Capitol building.
Right.
So there's no skyscrapers or anything like that.
I love that part of it. It makes it feel like a city without being a city.
Yeah.
Okay, so our last topic is a fun one, and we did tell you to stay tuned until the end, but this might be a little bit of a lengthy topic. So before we deep dive into this topic, we're going to like recap it. It's a TV show called The Amazing Race. What season are we on?
35, 36.
Let's see.
I think they're on season 35.
Amazing Race. Yeah, season 36.
36.
I think. It's not clear. So either it's 36.
Okay,
because Ashley and Todd were on 35.
Okay.
So just a little background. I've been watching The Amazing Race pretty much my whole life. Like as a kid, it was our family show. Have you watched it?
I remember growing up, it would come on Sunday nights. So we would get home from church on Sunday night.
It had the primetime spot too.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would get home from church on Sunday night and sit on the couch and watch The Amazing Race.
It was so good. And I remember like the times when I really remember the most was like when they did like Family Amazing Race spinoff.
Yeah.
And then
because they went to the Space and Rocket Center during that one.
Yeah. So we both have watched it, but when we lived together, we talked about we lived together our MBA year. We decided to like start from the beginning. Season one. So I'm like literally looking up who won season 1. Do you remember?
I don't remember their names, but I can see their faces.
I'm about to look them up. And
it's just like so crazy to go back and watch starting at the beginning because like all the phones and stuff are really old and like they actually have to go to travel agencies to book their travel. Like
so the first season they went to obviously they started in the US, South Africa, Zambia, France, Tunisia, Italy, India, Thailand, and China. Yeah. They went to a lot of places in the first season. That kind of set the tone of like what it was going to look like. And obviously things have changed. Culture's changed. Technology's changed. Yeah. But like the detours and roadblocks have remained mostly the same. There's obviously some new challenges and things. But yeah, if you've never watched it, like you should watch all 36 seasons. It's the best show ever. So we started watching from season 1. I don't remember how far we got into.
I think maybe like season, because we would come back from class and be like, we have to watch the
Turn it on.
Race.
That other show. What was the other show? Sing the song.
Outlander.
Okay. Anyways, that was sidetracked.
I think we got to like season 15 or something, like about halfway through. We got pretty
far for like 6 months of time.
Yeah.
I mean, we were cranking it out. Like we would sit on the couch, apply for jobs, and watch The Amazing Race.
Do our homework. Yeah.
We were in it.
Yeah.
So that was really, really fun. So we've been watching season 36 and Kelsey got here Thursday. So we watched episode 2 together with Riley. And what are your thoughts so far on this season? Only 2 episodes in. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to pick. There's definitely teams that are already standing out. Like the grandparents.
They look like they're 30.
Yes, they look so strong, and they've been doing really well.
Both times, I think.
And then the NFL star or the
Yes.
the ex NFL player, and then his wife.
They were first.
They got first, and then I really like the firefighter women. I really hope that they step it up.
They need to like get into their rhythm.
Yeah,
I like them
because
too.
I think they could. They could be contenders.
They picked the wrong detour.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really fun to pick your favorite teams. It's also fun to pick your least favorite, because you're like, I really want them to get eliminated. I don't want them to make another round. And it's not if you've never watched it before, it's not like a voting based show.
No.
Like you don't vote on your favorite teams or anything like that. It's purely competition, luck, you know, like
all the things.
Yeah.
Attention to detail.
Yes.
Ability to drive stick shift.
Yes.
Like, so typically every leg of the race has a detour and a roadblock.
Yeah.
Typically. It could have more. It could be like an extended leg, or it could have like a chunk of travel in it. Like they could be taking a flight. So a detour is when, both of it's pairs. So every group has 2 people in it, and that's a detour is when both people have to compete in something, and they're normally given 2 options with like a short. We actually researched this, like a very short description, so it can be misleading. Like, we watch TV and we're like, why would you pick that? But
something sounds super easy, but then whenever they start doing it, they're like, oh wait, maybe we should switch. But then you waste time switching. It's very strategic if you're going to switch, like that sort of stuff.
Exactly. So that's a detour. And then a roadblock is you don't have an option. It's one task or activity or challenge, and one person has to do it. And there is a rule. It's not really like super spoken of, but there is a rule. Like every couple has, like, the same person can't do every roadblock.
Right. So it has to be like evenly split. And sometimes they'll get to a point and it'll tell them on their so-and-so has to do this.
And a lot of times, like, the roadblocks are things that, like, instill, like, fears. So, used to, in old days, it was, like, eating weird things. That's gone. For the most part, like, they might eat,
they haven't done one in a long time. So
the last one I remember, last season they had a express pass that you could eat a tarantula, and I was like, I would literally never do that. Like, I'll just keep racing and do my best.
Yeah.
Because typically, like, in the past couple of seasons, express passes haven't really been that helpful. Yeah. So there was that, and then a couple seasons ago, they had to eat like a dozen beignets or something as fast as they could, and that made them not feel good, but it wasn't gross.
Right.
Like, I don't want to eat 12 beignets, but I'd rather do that than eat a bug.
Yeah.
So that, like, in old seasons was really popular. Heights is a really big one. Yeah. And, like, maybe even, like, swimming or, like, water-related, like, fears would be one. Outside of that, like, they're pretty standard, like, competition.
Lots of puzzle type
lots
things.
Of puzzles.
Yeah.
So that's The Amazing Race, and we definitely have a least favorite team, but they were eliminated. So
the first round.
On the first episode, they drove their car into a dead end and tried to 200-point turn it back instead of just reversing out. And we were like, they're done. Like, it doesn't matter. They can't come back from this.
Yeah.
So it really is like attention to detail, athletic ability, and like mental ability.
Yeah.
Like, and things have changed. Back in the day, I swear they didn't stay in hotels. Like, they would be like, oh, you're staying in the train station tonight, or you're staying in the airport.
Or they would, like, get to their destination and then they couldn't complete their challenge until, like, the next morning. And so they would, like, sleep on the street in front of wherever their challenge was.
It's not like that anymore. Yeah. So now pretty much, I think every night they're staying in a hotel.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's still super demanding, but that makes it a lot better.
Yeah.
And probably a lot, like, ethically better too.
Yeah.
Like, but I do kind of miss the old days. Survivor's the same way. Like, I swear, like, don't come at me, but, like, they feed people on Survivor now.
Probably. I haven't really watched it.
I just
Survivor ever,
think
but,
that
like,
they do. It's not that good anymore. And I said what I said. So that's Amazing Race. Now we should tell the story about, like, why we love, like, why. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
And tell them what we did in college.
Yeah.
That had to do with The Amazing Race.
So in the middle of our Amazing Race craze,
like, literal obsession, I would say.
Yes.
It was so bad. Oh my gosh, it was so bad.
We got an assignment in our strategic communications class that we needed to tell a story in front of the class. And I don't even remember how long it had to be.
It feels like a very elementary assignment, but it was kind of like a challenge.
Yeah.
Because you had to do, like, certain types of communication and all this stuff.
Yeah. And so our professor told us it didn't have to be a true story, but you had to tell a story.
Yeah.
And I think it had to be like about your life or something.
It was personal.
Yeah.
And it was like persuasive. Like
yes.
you were either persuading them to believe you
Yeah.
is what you were
Yes.
doing, whether it was true or false. And most people took the avenue of truth.
Yeah.
I would say 99%.
yeah. I don't even remember what my story was about, but Maggie was like, I don't really know what I want to talk about and stuff. So I said, why don't you make up a story that we got casted to be on The Amazing Race?
Right.
And
the year is 2019. And if you know Amazing Race, like there are specific types of people that they cast every season. Like they've always cast a parent with a child. They always cast a couple.
And a child being like they're old.
They're
like
older
adult.
kid. Yeah. Or adult. Yeah. And then they always cast a couple or multiple couples. And then they always cast either a sisters group or like two girl best friends.
Yes.
Always. Every season.
Yes.
So we were like, that would be us.
Yeah.
Like we're the two best friends. So yeah. As Kelsey said, I decided to use that as my speech. So
and we made it this whole thing of like, oh, we couldn't tell anyone about it, but then we got an email last week saying that we could start telling people. We had been flown out to LA for the casting and all this stuff. It was
elaborate.
It was so elaborate. I wonder
if I still have it on my computer, like written down somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to look for it.
We said like we were going to be on the like upcoming season, and it was going to be perfect because it was right after graduation and it was going to be during the summer, so we could start our jobs after that. And it was incredible. Like, and the way that this class was divided into is half of our MBA cohort was in this class. The other half was in a different class, and then we would swap.
Yeah.
And so after that class, like there were people coming up and like recommending backpacks for us to get and like all this gear and stuff that we needed. And people were so excited for us. Well, we go to our next class, and then the next day, this was on Thursday night, the next Friday, I had a meeting, and I go into the meeting, and people from the other class that were in the other half of the cohort were coming up to me and being like, I cannot believe you and Maddie are going to the Amazing Race. Like, this is awesome. All this stuff. Like, we just kept it up. We were like, we're just going to keep it up and let people believe that we're going on the show.
We did so good.
And then COVID, we got dismissed for COVID. So then we just told people that we weren't going on the show anymore because of COVID. They had canceled our season. And then we started like coming clean to people, but
like only our close friends.
Yeah.
At first.
But I swear like 2 years, like up to about 2 years, people were swiping up on Instagram stories whenever I would post something of us, being like, when are y'all going on the Amazing Race?
Y'all, people really believed us. Yeah. I tried to find the speech. I can't find it. So like, I'm going to dig for it because I wonder if I have the script. It was a speech, but I would have written it out. But I really went into detail about like the casting and flying out to LA and all of these things. And like what types of backpacks we were looking at and, how we'd always wanted to be on Amazing. Like we went into such detail.
Yeah.
And our plan was to tell people, did you already say this? Our plan was to tell people at the like end of year banquet.
Yeah. At the end of year banquet.
We were going to make a toast.
Yes. We were going to make a toast and say that it was
toast
fake.
To all of you believing that we were going on the Amazing Race. That was a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. But then we didn't get to have
even
it.
Even our teacher believed us.
Yes.
Like everyone knew that we were going on the Amazing Race. Like people were asking. It was definitely like we did not think. We honestly thought we would tell it and then tell people it was a joke.
Yeah. Like we didn't think that people were going to believe us.
But then when people believed us, we were like, well, we should just go with it.
Yeah.
Like we should just do this.
Yeah.
So all that to say, it's been 4 years since that.
Yeah.
And we've consistently been saying, we're going to apply for the Amazing Race. We're going to apply for the Amazing Race. Like, it's not that hard to apply if you've ever looked. It's literally just a video like this.
Yeah.
Talking about, like, who you are, how you met, which we've already done half of, and why you think you should be on the Amazing Race.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So, Kelsey watched a couple audition tapes today. I've watched a couple in the past.
Yeah.
So, our big announcement is that we're going to make our video finally.
We are making our video today.
Right now. Like right after this.
And we are applying. So catch us on the next season of The Amazing Race because we are going to get on this show.
We will literally have to probably take off. Like obviously we'll take off it's 28 days typically.
It's 28 days.
So that's about a month. But really that's like what? like 3 work weeks.
Yeah.
So like 21 or like 20 or 15 to 20 like work days probably.
Yeah.
So we would have to take leave for that, but we would also probably have to take leave like leading up to it to train.
Yes.
We would train individually, but there would also need to be some training that we did together.
Yeah.
Some people like overtrain. Some people like do crazy
It's
stuff.
hard
to
to know what to prepare for because you just don't know what you're going to be getting.
And some people that have won Amazing Race have never watched, like they've watched it, but they've never like watched every season back and taken notes. Some people that have won, you know,
did a lot.
I'm thinking of the couple a few years ago. They knew everything.
They would like go and watch episodes and try to do the challenges that were in the episodes with like whatever they had
in their house. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
But like running is really important. Like cardiovascular health, being able to drive stick shift. Like neither one of us know how to do that. Reading maps is something we would definitely have to
You're going to be my directions
on.
girl, and then I'll be the driver.
Yeah, because Kelsey's like more like, she lives in DC, so she'd be better at like getting places, whereas like I would really have to be the map person.
Yeah.
So I would really have to study reading maps because I'm not great at it. So there's definitely things we'll have to prepare for, but first we have to submit a video. So that's step 1. So we're going to do that today, and then we're going to go out to dinner tonight. And Kelsey unfortunately leaves in the morning, so super early. Her flight's at 6:30. So we'll go out to dinner and get a little twinkle of sleep before you're on a plane.
Out.
So thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It was
I'm so
much
glad I got
fun.
to be here.
If you enjoyed listening, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you like download it in your Apple Podcasts or Spotify so it'll notify you when a new episode is loaded. We're recording it's the end of March. It's March 23rd today. This will probably be out in a couple weeks, maybe a week if I'm feeling it. But yeah, I hope everyone's having a fabulous spring. Make sure, like I said, to subscribe, listen, leave a review, like it, share it with your friends, and follow on Instagram at Commute Chats. So thanks everyone for listening, and see you real soon. Bye.
Bye.